What if the biggest challenges in your life were actually invitations to meet your highest self? Today's guest didn't just survive his struggles, he alchemized them into art, purpose, and divine connection. From the creation of God's gang to discovering his own state of grace, Nimrod Avraham May is living proof that your mess can become your mission and your mission can become your miracle. Now get ready for a soul charged conversation about creativity, faith, and the courage to transform. Nimrod Avraham May is a visionary storyteller, spiritual seeker, and the creator of the animated series God's Gang, a powerful, positive show that blends fun with faith, inclusion, and divine purpose. Behind his creative genius is a deeply personal journey through darkness, doubt, and transformation. Today, he shares how he faced his own inner demons, let go of ego driven success, and stepped into his true self, his own state of grace. Please welcome to the virtual state, Nimrod Avraham May. Hi, Nimrod.
Hi, Grace. Lovely to see you.
Great to see you. I can't wait to hear all about your journey, your challenges, and your transformation. So let's start with God's Gang. What inspired you to create God's Gang, and how did the idea first come to you?
So basically, back in 2006, I worked for the Disney channels, and I was launching a new brand under Disney called Jetix. It was a part of the pan-European Disney channels. I live in Israel, and I was invited to a big Disney executive summit with all the 120 Disney TV executives.
Wow.
And we basically did a lot of workshops on how we can amplify the Disney brand, especially in days where we were tackled by a yellow sponge and an adventurous girl with her booted monkey that gave a lot of fight to many of the Disney titles. And we were a new brand. And I remember as a young marketeer, I was called on stage and to pitch some ideas of what we can do in order to make Disney great. Not that they're not, but still, we were not expecting a rivalry channel to be so successful. And I remember I went on stage in front of 120 Disney executives, and I had two ideas in my mind that I thought would be very cool to pitch. The first one was to have Disney send the first kid into orbit back in 2006.
Wow.
I was a big fan of the private space race, and they promised us that space tourism is going to be available somewhere between 2007 2008 under different ventures such as Virgin Galactic. And I offered Disney to run this competition and send the first kid into orbit. Obviously, that didn't fly. It was too early to try to try and send a kid into orbit. So with that said, I have no idea. Now I do have the idea where the idea came from. I told them, I have a great idea. You paid a lot of money for the titles that you just acquired from Fox Entertainment, Fox Kids, and the leading show was the Power Rangers. So I stood on stage and I told them, why don't you make the Power Rangers the first ever interfaith group of superheroes saving the world together, since they were fighting aliens? I said, oh, how cool that can be, that, you know, a Jew and a Christian and a Muslim and a Hindu and maybe other gang member Rangers would join them and save the world, save our planet together, and show that we can coexist. And I remember there was a bit of a shock in the room, but they liked it. Actually, 120 people cheered for the idea.
Nice.
Luckily for us, it never matured into a real interfaith group of Power Rangers. And back in 2006, I was still very, I want to say, a non-believer, a kind of person. And I saw how much money is generated through consumer products, especially when you have a successful IP. And I said, well, if Disney are not going to do the first ever interfaith group of heroes, maybe I can do it. And I sat down and I've designed the entire universe of God's Gang with the existing heroes known as Crisscross and Su Muslim and Taekwondo Hindu and Ninju. And I thought that can be a great idea for an animated series to promote peace on this planet. But I was not prepared. I was still caught up with life, what is called getting divorced,
Yes.
with two young daughters, trying to make a career, grow professionally, pay alimony, and be a good dad. So I left Disney, and I started rolling myself in what is called the startup nation, the Israeli startup nation, engaged with different projects that I thought would be worth being a part of. But that didn't work that great back in the days. And I found myself in a very, I want to say, miserable state where I'm divorced for 2 years. I'm struggling to make a month payments, and I wasn't coupled well after I got divorced. I guess I didn't date the right partners.
Yes.
And on top of everything, I lived in this small apartment. And one day I woke up and I had a fluffy dog that started barking. And just to realize the building that I was living in was caught on fire. And cut a longer story short, I survived the fire.
Thank God.
And then I decided to do something which is completely out of my way, which was around the Bible, actually a Torah book. It's the first 5 books of the Bible, that I knew that one of my ancient grandfathers wrote it with his hands, and it was in a synagogue not far from my house. And when you survive a life-threatening event, there's a prayer in Judaism that you say, which is thanks for not dying that day.
Oh, wow.
And that basically sparked a chain of events that was so out of this world for me in terms of how could this happen. I couldn't think in any way that this was circumstances. I had a call from my cousin, not going to take too much of the time, but basically we both found ourselves next to the Torah book at the same time, and learning other things about the author that wrote the book, the writer that wrote the book. He's not the author. The Bible was written by a higher authority. And that was basically the moment where I understood that there is something bigger than my ego, greater in life, that is acting in very mysterious ways here, and I decided I'm gonna look for God. I was very curious. I grew up in a very liberal atheist house, pro peace. My father was a Holocaust survivor,
Oh, wow.
and my mom was an orphan at a very young age, and she had no siblings, so they couldn't justify the existence of God just because they thought that what they had to go through in life were
Yeah.
God missing experiences. The Holocaust, for example.
Yes.
So just imagine religion was not even discussed in the house in any way.
Mm-mm.
Um, so at the age of 36, I went searching for answers. And that basically spawned me, if that's the way to describe it, to a wonderful spiritual journey that is still taking place in my life, where I really wanted to deep dive as far as
Mhm.
possible just to understand what I was missing for 36 years of my life.
Yes.
And
And you
so,
know, we're going to dive into your challenges and your state of grace. And before we do that, I am so curious to know, why do you feel like a show like God's Gang is needed in today's world?
so actually, it comes from two places. First of all, reality. When I benchmark what is going on right now in the world and I see the polarization and the
Mhm.
divisive narratives that are taking place,
Mhm.
I understand that this only brings suffering to the world. Wars. I mean, no matter where we go right now, the drums of war are basically getting stronger and stronger everywhere. You know, I live in Israel. We know what happened here.
Yes.
We know what's going on in with Russia and Ukraine,
Yes.
and in China and Taiwan and Korea. So, with that said, this is not the world I want to live in.
Yeah.
But
Agreed.
there's a big but, and that's also um, during the spiritual journey that I pursued. I realized many things about our existence, but divinity, source, creation is so beyond us, and we need to be
Mhm.
very humble even to try and explain or mitigate this with our biological brain.
Yeah.
um, that I had to give different terms to just for me to understand what am I experiencing, and to cut to the chase, I came to the conclusion that if I need to speak with myself before I realize there's something greater than myself and my ego,
Mhm.
um, how would I describe what I've just found out after exploring it for so many years? And the realization came to me that I can describe it in two words. And these two words are, I'm going to the cliches of big poets and songwriters and storytellers and in many movies that we see, but these two words are basically um, one, love.
Yes.
What is creation? What is source? What is God? For
Mhm.
me, basically, it's one and love.
Yes. Agreed.
And one is basically, if we think, even from a scientific perspective, we're all formed in this event that science call it the Big Bang,
Yes.
or believers would call it at the beginning. Like basically, the Bible tells you from the first sentence about the Big Bang, and
Yes.
and when you
Absolutely.
and when you really think about it, it's a singular event creating a universe.
Crazy, right?
Yes. And, we're basically all made from this singular event.
Yes.
And in science, there is the magic zone, which is called quantum physics and quantum mechanics.
Yes.
And there's also the term the quantum entanglement. Yeah,
Yes.
in the invisible web that connects everything, from this beginning event that and all the way to us experiencing life as separated entities.
Yes.
um, but once you really understand the essence of this oneness, then you have to think, what is this oneness requires, and what does everybody require in order to have a thriving journey as a human being.
Mhm.
I will sing it. All we need is love. Da, 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 da. That's no. It's so
It's yeah, so simple,
simple.
right? I
Yeah.
know. I know. And I love that your spiritual journey led you to create this show that blends spirituality and humor and diversity. So, how did you find that balance between humor, diversity, spirituality?
So when you create stories, basically you follow I want to say guidelines or hierarchies,
Mhm.
because we really want to make an impact with the show, and we deeply believe that what we're bringing into the narratives of the stories is very much needed now. So the first hierarchy that, the title that basically we understand is that we need to entertain.
Mhm.
If we won't be entertaining, people would not basically be interested in what we are saying.
Yes, agreed.
Then under entertainment as a big umbrella, there are genres.
Mhm.
So we chose three genres that we thought that can be combined together,
Mhm.
that are under the guidelines of entertainment, and these genres are action, adventure, and comedy. So we knew that we're going to be creating a show
Mhm.
which has a lot of action scenes into it, because our interfaith heroes are superheroes and they're also martial artists, and so they're going to be different battles that they would need to actionize themselves into resolving different problems that they're going to be engaged with. um, on the other hand, they're going to be sent into different adventures to be actionable in these adventures. And since they need to work and show the world that even though we we still didn't succeed to come to world peace and world unity, um, they can work together. But since they come from different cultures and different backgrounds, and we try to find these common denominators
Mhm.
that will create these humoristic comic elements to it inside the scripts that we are writing. But underneath all of this, we coded and we embedded these spiritual values that we believe that the world needs now more than ever.
Yes.
We even wrote them. What are the values? What are the things that basically all humans can apply in their day-to-day lives, um, that will help us create a better humanity, if I can call it that way.
Yes.
Um, and basically, these values can be found in a lot of religious texts, and a lot of the religion in preaching in a positive way of what we need to do or what we need to apply on our day-to-day life. Sorry. And these values for us, if I can give examples, can be found in human acts such as kindness
Yes.
and and compassion
Mhm. Yes.
and and gratitude and positivity and inclusiveness and love. Just be good. Like you know, even Jesus said, "Love thy neighbor."
Yeah, not like thy neighbor.
Exactly,
Love thy neighbor.
exactly. So these are the values that we believe that can bring people together, that
Hmm.
can create what we call the bridges of light to connect instead of us bombing bridges. Let's build bridges.
I love that.
And inside, a deeper level in these stories are based on practices that personally I learned during my journey and other people um, that can help us be in that state of positivity, of love, of
Yes.
if it's a ladder, then hate and fear and anger are the lower levels. But when you go up and you basically understand how to let go,
Hmm.
especially how to let your ego go,
Yes.
you will reach a state of love, and that's an amazing way to experience life.
So,
And
so basically, if we stay within our higher self and we just use our ego, I always say for fight or flight situations, rather than listening to it for, to discriminate against others or to think you're superior or whatever the ego does. Um, if you stay in your higher self, then you're going to come from love no matter what, because your higher self is love. It's in all the higher frequencies like love, peace, joy, enlightenment, compassion. So what you're saying is this show is raising the vibration and the awareness in the consciousness in the world, so that we can understand that if we come from love, we can have all these people from different backgrounds joining forces for a higher good.
you got it.
Yes.
You totally got it. Um, yeah. So I basically, in order, it's a complicated thing to grasp and also
Yes.
to be in that state. So it requires building different. I'm calling them the toolkits.
Yes.
And so first of all, yes, and you mentioned many terms that I vibe very well with, like frequency, consciousness, and
Yes.
vibrations. But not many people, even though there's a process of awakening,
Yes, there
and
is.
would really understand what is really a frequency or what is vibration. And so I try to explain it to myself, and
Yes.
that basically helps me be in that state. So frequencies I relate to my thoughts. Basically, what am I engaged with when I'm basically either getting the projection from the outside. So it's just like switching a channel on your TV or your radio.
Yes.
So what am I tuned into? Now, is the thing that I'm now connected with, for example, when I see a show, how does it make me emotionally react to it? So an emotion reaction for me is a vibrational state. And I'll give you the example. When I'm in fear, and you mentioned the fight or flight, when
Yes.
you go, the fight or flight is the lowest frequency one can experience, because basically it activates um, an ancient surviving mechanism that takes control of our thoughts. He manages us rather than us managing on how to operate in a state of fight or flight. So I
Yes.
don't want to reach that level. I want to be the driver of my own vehicle, and let's call my body the vehicle that
Yes.
I'm driving. Um, Anger and frustration, and these are very low frequencies that drive me into what I call a very dense state of vibration. I just don't feel good. I can feel my stomach getting, squished. But then you have the other side. Um, for example, what is love? And thank God I've experienced love in my life. I experienced it through partners, and my current partner that I'm with for many years now. And I also experienced it obviously as a father. I have three daughters, and this is on the unconditional love side that I'm experiencing, but also love to my friends, my neighbor, nature, animals. And whenever I'm experiencing that sensation, I feel almost bodiless.
Yes.
It's almost like, if I vibrate, there's almost like a no vibration. I'm in my fluffy mode. I can leave my body and just fly. Don't
Yes,
they call they,
I
they call it
totally
the
get it.
butterflies when you fall in love, for example.
Yeah.
So basically, that's the game that I became aware of. Is
Yes.
what are my thoughts engaged with right now, and how does it react on my emotions, knowing that I didn't come to this world to suffer.
No, we didn't. Yeah. To alchemize the suffering, if anything.
Yeah. So I've learned the hard way to alchemize the suffering.
Yes.
I've learned the hard way how important it is to basically be the manager of my thoughts, and how to avoid low frequencies. The first thing that I did when I really decided to be one with this new life that I wished for myself is I turned off the TV. I've
Good one.
decided
Yes.
I've decided I'm not gonna consume news anymore
Oh,
because
same. Yeah, because they just it's made to lower your vibration because you never hear about good news. You always hear about the all the wars and everything that's going on and how, things are going the wrong way and so yeah, I totally agree. It's what we feed our minds and our souls. It's very important. And when we talk about frequency, um just for people to understand, right? And I know you know what it is. So can you explain a little bit what a frequency is and how it relates to quantum physics, where we are vibrating at a certain speed and that's why we appear as solids in this realm, right?
yes, so that goes into the science of understanding what matter is. And I'm not a physicist, and also really understanding that matter is mostly made out of empty space. At the beginning, in order to justify the solidification of materials, we found out the particles called the atoms, and then we found that
Mhm.
around the atoms are the electrons and protons. um, but then we went into a deeper understanding of what matter is made of, and that we can go and talk about what they found at the CERN, the Hadron Collider, in Switzerland. But basically they call them the godly particles,
Right. The
the
God
boson
particle, right?
Higgs, yeah, the quasi particles. And when you really understand that basically matter is a non-existent, um,
Yeah.
and you try to think, okay, but I can touch it, I can feel it, I can see it. What is it? You go back to Einstein's formula of relativity, and you understand that basically everything formed from energy. The
Yes.
basis of everything is energy, and energy has different states: the frequency, the vibration, um, and I try to apply it, on a human being experiencing matter. Um, so I that's how I came to the idea that, okay, so I'm an energy
Hmm.
embodied, experiencing the Nimrod Avraham ego, the separation,
Yes.
forgetting um, my true,
Divinity, right?
yes. Um, and I felt like these are unlocked parts
Hmm.
that if I go and find different techniques, I can unlock different hidden energies in my bodies that will
Yep.
basically raise my frequency. Will
100%.
will also help me expand my consciousness into not seeing the world from an egoic perspective, but
Yes.
from a more united perspective, the oneness. So this can be found also again, in at the beginning of my spiritual journey, obviously as an Israeli growing up in a Jewish state. Um, the first place that I went to try and understand what it means was Judaism, but fast enough into trying to read different scriptures and texts and
Hmm.
and understand them, I realized that I'm missing a lot of what is called the metaphysical explanations of this, and I found them in the metaphysical studies of Judaism or art of Judaism called the Kabbalah.
Oh.
And the Kabbalah basically is very similar to a lot of the things that you can find in Buddhism, in Hinduism, in Christianity, and in other religious texts. And I would go into one thing because I know that the question was very specific. The energy frequency and vibration. Um, I've learned through, on one side, the Kabbalah, but on the other hand, Hinduism, um, that we have inside our body what is called the chakras.
Yes,
The,
correct.
the different um, energetical centers that each one of them basically has a very specific role in helping me manage my energy
Hmm.
from top to bottom, and
Yes.
bottom is and top basically is how we can connect into our
To
higher self,
yes, absolutely.
into something which is greater than ourselves, into a universal wisdom,
Yes, absolutely. Which we all have access to.
and it's free.
Yes, and we forgot about it.
We not only forgot about it, for some reasons it's, instead of us going to school for 15 years and taking maybe 10% out of the entire 15 years that we spend in school, I wish that, that was a part of the curriculum, and the studies that they taught us as kids and as teenagers. But basically, the information is out there, and with the right appliance of what is called gut feeling or intuition, or your soul guiding you through this journey of life just to help you go into that state. I basically started choosing and picking um, different practices that I've realized they have this positive impact, that they are releasing myself from the things that got me stuck in so many places in my life. um, so one of the things there obviously was, what is breathing.
Yes.
People are not really aware of what is proper breathing and what proper breathing can bring to their day-to-day life, in terms of basically connecting them to their higher self.
Yes, absolutely. And let me ask you about God's Gang. Did working on God's Gang help you access a deeper part of yourself spiritually or emotionally by being in your purpose?
Yes, definitely. I think we are all creators, and we all came here for a reason. Let's give this reason a title. The title is Lessons. Each has his own lesson to learn in his life, which is, based on my understanding, is a part of the lessons that we didn't complete when we came here before. And I've realized, and this goes very, deep into my personal journey, that even relates to the meaning of my name. I have a unique name that my mom chose to give me, on basically the eighth day of my existence, when they take every Jewish baby to this ceremony called cutting a part of his
Yes,
um,
manhood.
yes. And she came with the name Nimrod, and the guy
Yes,
that was supposed to perform this ceremony was not cool with that,
yeah,
because that's not a good name. I know what it means for Americans, but just imagine for a Jewish Orthodox, the name Nimrod basically registered with this crazy, somewhat mad, evil guy that wanted to defy and be bigger than God. And for that purpose, at the beginning, he was very fond by gods, and he was called Nimrod the Brave. But then I guess his ego was not managed well, and he decided to build a tower, also known as the Tower of Babylon.
Babel. Yes,
Now, with that said, um, the guy that performed the ceremony asked her to give me another name, because he didn't want to he didn't want to do it on Nimrod.
yeah.
And thank God, her father, my grandfather, whom I never met, unfortunately, he um, he moved to Israel from Hungary,
Hmm.
and he needed to change the name that he was given as a kid, and that was Adolf,
Ouch.
to Abraham. Thank God.
Whew. Okay, much
Yes,
better.
yes. So basically, I got these two names from birth. And Avraham, when you read these stories, obviously is the first father, and is considered to be the kindest, almost the kindest person on our planet.
Hmm.
He was the guy who would bring everyone into his tent without judging or asking, and just feeding and giving. A man of kindness and compassion.
Yes.
So the personal story here is, they blame Nimrod for creating this division in the world. The fact that the Tower of Babylon is known, with the story of making us speak in different languages. Um, so as funny as it say, and also they said he was a hunter. He was a hunter with his words. He was very charismatic. He was
Ah,
speaking and people listened to him. And just funny enough, I was a marketeer for many years, launching, different companies, building brands, creating different strategies. Basically, I was incepting ideas into people's minds. So it really felt like a non-coincidental thing that, Nimrod was basically a marketeer on his own, and I found myself doing marketing for many years. Um, and also the fact that Nimrod created, the thing that got us separated. Now maybe this Nimrod, and I don't speak about myself in a third party way, but maybe I will fix what he did. How crazy is that?
I
Like,
love that. Like
a
the
sole
opposite.
purpose. A
Yes.
sole purpose. One Nimrod basically broke, and another Nimrod came to fix.
So
And
he broke basically the unity of humanity. And so now with God's gang, your purpose and your mission is to bring unity back full circle with that name.
Yes, you know, Grace, you're one of the first people that I tell that to.
Really?
Because it's so personal and so mind blowing and so humbling to come up to these realizations. And maybe I'm just another lunatic kind of Nimrod
You
thinking that
are not.
oh,
No.
of course not.
You know what? When we start to awaken, it goes so against what we were programmed to be and to think and to feel that we think, am I going crazy? Because we are awakening to the fact that we are magical, powerful beings and that there are signs in the universe. The numbers that you see, sometimes I've always been like, whenever I drive and I see a sign and it says it speaks to me about the situation that I'm going through, I cry because I'm like, this is the universe telling me that, okay, you're on the right path. Okay, I see you. And so once you awaken to that, which I was kind of always awake to that, but they thought I was a genius, crazy person. My family thought I was a genius. I'm no genius, trust. But it's because I was always able to see beyond. But, society kind of pulled me back on that and got me back on this 3D where it's like, success and logic rule and how you look like and all this BS that has nothing to do with who we really are.
Yeah. So even here, I've learned how to basically connect to and see the exact things that you were just saying. And again, it also comes from the journey and the readings and the studying and the realizations that I have. But basically, one really 1 minute about Kabbalah. Kabbalah talks about the tree of life. You're probably
Yes.
familiar with the tree of life, and they say
Yes.
that in this formation, which has two sides, a middle, a top, and a bottom,
Yep.
and there are like 10 spheres, 10 vessels that are all basically godly attributes that needs to be brought into our world
Mm-hmm.
by us fixing the world according to Kabbalah. It's called the tikkun.
Oh,
Um, so on the top we have a crown. By the way,
yeah.
same goes to the chakras. There's the crown,
Yep.
and it's amazing to see, like the similarities that you can find in these different cultures and
It's
religious
totally. It's all the same, Nimrod. It's all they're saying
all the
the
same.
same thing, just colored by their culture or their
Hmm.
visions
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
but it's all, if you look at it deeply with critical thinking and with spiritual eyes,
It's all the same.
all the same.
So there are three systems basically right under the crown.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and basically, I know the terms in Hebrew, and I'll try to explain them in English, but you would make perfect sense of them.
Yeah.
There's the intelligence, which
Mm-hmm.
is considered our left hemisphere. There's the wisdom, which is considered to be our right hemisphere, and there's the knowing,
Yeah.
which is in the
Right.
center,
Yeah.
right in the center.
Yeah.
So taking it into practical, a practical discussion. Intelligence is our computer, is our
Computer.
brain.
I was just gonna say our brain is a computer.
Yes, it's our brain, our left
Yep.
side,
Yep.
logic, rationalizing things, applying different rules and algorithms that we managed to through a machine learning kind of process. Oh, that was good. No, that was not good. Statistics and so on and so forth. It's not serving us only to apply this side in, of our brain in our day-to-day lives, because there's a mysterious side to it, which is the spiritual side, the creativity, the imagination, they're all
Mhm.
basically coming from our right hemisphere. So, first of all, when you understand that you have two sides, you understand that you need to find the middle.
Yes.
Now, how can you basically balance between these two different systems? And I've learned over the years that in order to balance them and make them work in an optimal way, I need to work with the middle center, which is called the knowledge. And the middle center for me is this almost most important organ in our body, which is called the pineal gland, the pineal
Mhm.
gland.
Yes.
You're probably familiar with that term.
Very familiar, and it has crystals in it. Yes.
It has
That's why
crystals
it's
in
like
it.
the Wi-Fi. The crystal is the Wi-Fi.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So, first of all, I don't know if you know, but pineal, it's not a word in English. These are two words in Hebrew.
Mm.
And these two words are pnei el. Pnei is face, and el is God,
Elohim, yes. El.
Elohim.
Mhm.
So basically, you understand that you're now talking about something which has the word God in it. And
Yes. God's
and
face.
God's face.
It's here.
Yes.
And it's like sometimes I feel here, like if somebody is not right. I used to feel it right here. Like something like would be like beep 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 beep, beep like an alarm. And I would still not listen to it because I didn't understand what it was. And it is part of our intuition, I think. Don't you think?
Yes, it's a part. It's basically our connection
Yeah.
to our higher self, to the
Yes.
universal oneness, to the wisdom.
Yes. To the
Now,
Akashic records.
exactly. In the
Mhm.
Akashic records, basically, which is a Hindu term,
Yes.
also has the same term in Kabbalah. It's called the Reshimu. Reshimu is
Wow.
registry.
Oh my goodness. See, they all say the same thing.
All say the same things, and basically when you study, for example, from a Kabbalistic perspective on how the universe was created, it was created with three simple actions. You know what are these three actions?
No, tell me.
Thought, speech, action.
Right. Thought. It happened. I mean, it was here.
Thought
And
is
what
an
was the other
energy.
one?
It's an electric energy which
Yes.
occurs now in our system.
They say thoughts are electric and feelings are emotions are magnetic,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And we are electromagnetic beings. We have like the aura, what people call aura, is actually our electromagnetic field.
Yes, and the electromagnetic field is basically activated through the heart chakra.
I was
The
just going to say, and that's why the heart actually is an electric muscle because it's not a muscle that you can flex. It works by electricity.
you know how the hearts look when you basically take it out of the body and you do uh, some kind of a medical procedure on it.
No, what?
If this is a heart, it's a coil, like a spring,
Oh my God.
and the heart, this spring.
Right. Like
Now we also know that it has now um, brain cells, memory cells.
absolutely. It has intelligence, the heart and the gut. They literally have intelligence. It's not just our brain. That's why we've been limited to our brain. You got to
Hmm.
think, logic. No, the heart has so much intelligence. And
Hmm.
the gut is when something is not right, your gut will be like, oh,
Hmm. And here, the throat chakra. You
yes.
know what it creates?
What does it create?
The voice, speech.
That's right. Oh, of course, duh, right? Grace.
So thought, speech, and action.
Stop.
Um, And what is a voice? Voice is a vibration, right? What
Yes,
are the words that we say? These words are formed and basically manifest in our life.
absolutely. And they
If
also
you
can
would say
change
good things,
energy.
yes, if you would only say good things, only good things will come to you. You would attract them, you would
Yes,
magnetize them to you through your heart.
yes,
So basically, this is an amazing conversation where I personally understood that I can activate. I need to be, first of all, you need to be very aware of the existence of these energetical centers in our
a
body.
100%.
Each one of them requires different practices on our day-to-day lives,
Hmm.
how to activate our heart chakra, how to use our voice and speech, and how to manage our thoughts.
Yes,
And so it all basically can very well harmonize when you balance it in your life, and that can create, I want to say, an easier journey for many of the people that are experiencing life through, not in a judgmental way, but through managing their thoughts in a place where it's not bringing them, to meet their higher self. Because when you meet your higher
yeah,
self, the thing that happens to you is that you create this relationship of trust with something that is beyond you.
absolutely, 100%. And it's always guiding you in the right direction. And you were talking about bringing the conversation back to the loop of love. Um, it actually guides you with love. And it's all the things that you said about the show that you promote, but that you have in the show that come from love, which is like kindness, unity, compassion, peace, joy, enlightenment. All of those come from the higher self. So anything that doesn't come from that, it's from the ego.
Totally agree with you.
Yes, and you were talking about how our thoughts change the energy around us and can change our reality, and it's so real that there's an experiment, and I know you're familiar with it, but I want to make sure that the listeners understand that we're mixing science with spirituality because they're one and the same, right? Um, so like when it was called Dr. Emoto's water experiment, when you spoke to the water, like, I love you, you're beautiful, the water made these crystal patterns that were perfect and they were
Hmm.
harmonized, they were
Hmm.
beautiful. When you spoke to the water and said, I hate you, you're nothing, all those structures that were perfectly harmonized started being chaotic, like they were not harmonized anymore.
Hmm.
Harmony is a very important part of the
Hmm.
higher frequency also. While I was going through cancer, cancer is basically a glitch in your body, right? Because I
Hmm.
was in an emotional lower vibrational field, and so I allowed that to happen into my body to just, I know people are going to say, well, you blaming the patient. No, I'm just saying my personal experience. Okay. So when I was going through the treatment, I would say, I am harmony. I am truth. I am love. I am peace. I am joy. I am abundant, an abundance of health. I'm not talking about money because money is, who cares? It's just nothing. So I was talking to myself in a way that promoted harmony in my body, in my cell structure. There was no room for glitches. The glitches disappeared. They were gone. They were unalived, right? And so it is so important to talk to ourselves in a loving way. A lot of people, I was talking to a friend yesterday, and she's like, I have such self hate. And I sent her today a beautiful note, a beautiful text, because I'm like, you are amazing. You don't realize how magical and powerful and incredible you are. And I hope that by me speaking that to her into this reality, that it can overflow to her and she will understand who she really is. A lot of people, Nimrod, are like, just low self esteem is basically just not knowing that you are love. You are peace. You are, everything is inside you. Even the history of your ancestors and the history of the universe is written in our DNA. What? Everything we need to know and everything we need to function in this world is inside of us. And once we discover that, it's just pure magic. When did you discover that and realize like, wow, I got everything I need?
Um, so the more you put yourself, I put myself into these challenges.
Yes.
Just from a logical perspective, the thought of launching a new animated series where you never created animation in your life, you never produced movies, never worked with script writers, and also knowing that the world, for example, how come aren't there were not any interfaith shows in the world, right?
Yeah.
Why was it left for me to do?
Mhm.
It goes against any kind of logic.
Yeah.
But basically, through these 18 years of journey since my awakening, um, I would say that the moment where I felt that I'm ready, that now I more or less understand exactly what you just said, that I can create my own reality through managing my thoughts, through positivity, through
Yes.
the fact that nothing can stop love and light, because light spreads.
Yes.
I would say around 4.5 years ago.
Hmm.
Um, and it's not an easy journey. I mean, God King is a private project, what we now call a homeless project. We're not backed by any streamer or broadcaster. We're active on social media.
Hmm.
Producing animation is very costly.
Yes.
Managing a team of professional and getting 5 Emmy and a Grammy head writer and an Emmy winner director into the team. You know, when you spoke with me, if you would have spoken with me 5 years ago and you would tell me in a year from now you're going to do a show, and that show would be joined by an Emmy and a Grammy winner head writer and an Emmy director and the team that I have now, I would tell you, get out.
Yes.
What are the chances for this to happen? Like, how do I get even there? But when you let go and you listen to your intuition and you understand that, okay, no matter what, you see the end result, and the end result is I chose to promote love on this planet. I chose to
Yes.
commit my life now into telling new kinds of stories and bringing them into as many people as possible, because this world now needs love, light, compassion, and hope more than anything else.
Yes.
Then you understand that you are in some kind of a messenger's role in going against the waves, and the waves are high, and the ocean is red, and a red ocean is also a way to tell that the world has a lot of animated series and a lot of aspiring creators and a lot of content. How are you going to break through that state of um, being in an ocean where next to you you have these big whales and sharks and dolphins, and you're just an idea
Yeah.
that wanna be as big, if not bigger, than the other people that are operating in the same space. I i i just felt new that the more you would stick into the belief that love will conquer all, and us, we will promote love through the show,
Mhm.
we will be successful in our mission.
100%.
I mean, darkness is very prominent. It's something that's
Yes.
everywhere here, and
Yes.
people are drawn to it for some reasons, and even in many cases not aware that they're drawn into darkness rather than the other
The
side.
light. Yes.
So you need to really understand the system, how it works,
Mhm. Yes.
and your soul purpose, your
Yes.
destiny,
Agreed.
and you need to understand that it would bring challenges. I don't call them anymore sufferings. I call them challenges because I don't
And they're
suffer
as long as we alchemize them into something good for us and for humanity, they're
for
not
others.
suffering. Yes.
We always we have the team discussions. I always tell them that the mission is bigger than each and one of us here. I
Absolutely.
mean, what we're doing right now, and I also know that I have such an amazing team working on this. Is because they all understand that what we're doing is so important right now that it's almost a feeling of okay, I'm now in the right course to go as far as I can and to be successful with the mission,
Yeah.
even though it go against any odd. Like, what are
Absolutely.
the
It doesn't matter.
chances?
It doesn't matter
No.
because that is this world, this cube, this 3D reality thinking. Oh, it goes against, it doesn't matter. You do what you are came here to do. This is the beauty. I think I'm not even going to ask you, have you reached your state of grace? Like I ask everybody, because you have. That's your ideal state of being. That's your awakened state of being. And once we reach that awakened state of being and we know our purpose, that's like the biggest thing, knowing your purpose in this realm. Once we know we have our own state of grace, we can actually transmute that to others through our art, through our words, through our actions, and just sometimes through our energy, just being, just existing. That energy that you exude, that higher vibrational frequency, is going to touch others.
I absolutely agree with you on that, but I also want to say I'm not a Zen Buddhist.
No, you're not. I know. No, you're not.
I mean, I get triggered. I get triggered by
We
I'm
all
still
do. We all
I
do.
I still get triggered. As a
Yes,
father, I get triggered
absolutely.
with three daughters. But once you understand the bigger picture,
Yes,
you see these things. First of all, you start growing self awareness that you
yes,
are now being triggered. Now, what
yes,
makes me angry?
yes.
She didn't wash the dishes when I woke up, and she ate and she made. How do I work it out? Like, there's
Right.
always, first of all, there's infinite ways of working it out, but
Yep.
let's say there are only two ways to work it out. Either I'm going to get angry at my daughter right now, or I'm going to find a way to be, first of all, not to get angry, because when I get angry, I basically
Lower the
injure.
vibe.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
injure myself in so many
Yes.
ways. And I'm triggered. We're all triggered on multiple times
100%.
on our day to day. So I see these triggers as tests for my ego. Like, and always when I and let me give you a perfect example of where I became like really aware of the entire things that's going on. I was supposed to drive my daughter early in the morning to her mom because they needed to go early to the zoo, whatever. And I like driving, and I have a pretty decent car. And I used to be a motorcyclist. I used to skydive, fly airplanes. I like adrenaline, and I remember going on this route that I drive very often, and I know that on this route I can, I got a 400 horsepower car. I'm gonna fly, and I need to be on time to bring my daughter. And
Yes.
the minute I go on that route, I see a group of 40 cyclists. Okay, basically doing it was a Saturday morning, and they were riding with their fancy riding outfits and their expensive bicycles, and they were doing their morning, I guess, whatever ride. So first of all, I get triggered. They're blocking
Yeah.
my roads. I mean, that's not fair. I mean, you're riding where I can now fly with my car.
Yeah.
And more than that, you're riding on the road instead of the sideway, where you should ride in a one line rather than like a bunch of sheeps with your. So first of all, my immediate reaction, the trigger is, oh, that's not fair. What the hell is going on here? Who are these egocentric people? Maybe I should honk. Maybe I should open my window. And
Yeah.
I remember it wasn't long ago. I remember that in that almost exact moment when I started a little bit feeling the anger
Yeah.
rising, I said, stop.
Yes.
Now try and see from the perspective of the cyclist what is going on in his head.
I do the same thing. Oh my God. Yes. Yes.
So I told myself a cyclist story. What was the cyclist story that I told myself? Oh, I've been working so hard this week. The only thing that I have is my Saturday morning rides with my companions, with my friends. The roads are fairly open. On Saturday morning, I can ride
Mhm.
freely. I'll try to avoid and not to aggravate any driver. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm wearing my fancy sports whatever and my $3,000 bicycle. And I tell myself, well, we're basically mirroring right now almost the same thing. I've been working so hard this week. Now this is Saturday morning. I can ride my car fast. My fancy car,
Mm.
his fancy bicycles. And I'm telling myself, okay, how, and you understand that everything is one, that him is you and you are him.
Yes.
So how do you come and basically turn that thing that triggered you now into um, a love kind of situation?
Yes.
And this is where you apply compassion.
I was just going to say, yeah, it's compassion is realizing that we're all one and that the person is going through something just as you are going through something at that
Yeah.
moment. And
Yeah.
I love that you use compassion to switch from a low vibe feeling before it starts like ingraining in your soul to something of a higher vibe. And that's, you described it so beautifully. That's a great way, that's a great tool that people can apply when they get triggered, because we're all going to get triggered until the end of time, until our last breath. There's going to be something that's going to bug you because we have trauma inside, and we have personality issues, and we have this flesh we live in. It's like, it's
And,
just
and you know what helped me reach that state? Something that you did when you had your
like,
disease, the cancer.
yes.
Um, every morning, I have my morning routine, which is very funny. I walk backwards every morning,
Oh,
and
I saw your videos. That's so, I'm going to try it.
it's amazing. It's so
Yeah.
amazing in so many levels. Beside the fact that you would never have back pains after you do that,
Nice.
and you strengthen all your muscles that you're not working while you're walking
Normally
forward.
front.
Yeah, normally. And you also build new connections in your brains.
Right.
You're doing
Yes.
something that your brain is now getting used to do, which is out of its way.
Mhm.
So you build new bridges,
Neural pathways, yeah.
yes.
Mhm.
But basically, um, I do grounding when I live right by the Mediterranean. So every
Oh,
morning we walk backwards to the sea. We walk barefoot for almost 10 minutes and hug every tree in the
love
area.
that. Yes.
Meditate. Um, and during the meditation, just like you were doing your mantra, I do. I actually, when you said what you said, I almost cried because I almost use the same. I say to myself, obviously in my language, but I'm love, I'm light, I'm compassionate,
Yes.
I'm forgiving, I'm
Yes.
abundant,
Yes.
I'm humble,
Yes.
I'm healthy,
Oh, all the time.
I'm
Don't forget about
protected,
that
and
one.
I'm protected.
I'm protect. Yes.
And that's a mantra that I use on my day to day basis. And basically, the more you say to yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you is the more you become one with it, and then basically it becomes easier for you not to be triggered in in these different points in our day to day that can basically lower our frequencies and create this horrible vibration.
Absolutely. Well, Nimrod, this conversation was so enlightening. And thank you for reminding us that grace isn't something you earn, it's something you allow. And your journey from hardship to healing, from ego to essence, is a beautiful reminder that we all have the power to rewrite our story when we listen to the call of our soul. So, to our State of Grace listeners, your challenges don't define you, they refine you. And just like Nimrod, you can turn your pain into purpose, your art into alchemy, and your life into light. Keep showing up, keep shining, and remember your own state of grace is waiting. Thank you so much, Nimrod, for
Thank
being
you,
with
Grace.
us and enlightening us. And we'll see you soon.
See you soon, and thank you so much for letting me share the story. And
You are welcome.
let's remind, it's free. It's free, and it's never too late. There is no age to start applying these practices.
100%. I agree. I'm a late bloomer, so
So am
you know,
I. So am
yeah,
I.
yeah. And it's not really late bloomer. It's just the timing is perfect. It's we had to live through those experiences to get where we are.